So we've now done over 70 episodes on the I Am More Than podcast, and we've never had a stylist before. So I am hyped to finally have gotten you because I've admired you through TikTok and Instagram for months. So this is a big moment for me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. This is actually my second podcast. So I'm really nervous, but I'm excited.
I love it. And our whole community is going to get so much value from you because I feel like when I was looking at your content, I know that style and fashion, you either have a love relationship with it or a hate relationship with it because I think some people use it to express creativity and show confidence, where then there's that other group of women that use clothes to really hide themselves and cover themselves and not portray confidence there. And I think we're starting to see this shift, especially with our age group, of trying to dress to feel confident, but people are lost. And that's why you resonate so much with me because you do such a good job of showcasing all bodies, talking about all budgets, all price points, all everything, that you're not excluding anyone. So your content is hitting home with a lot of people.
Thank you. I mean, I'm definitely like a high-low girl. I've always been. Sometimes I'm wearing a designer shoe with a pair of Target jeans. Like that's just how I am. And honestly, as a consumer of social media, for a long time, I never truly felt like I found a girl that was like me. I just always felt like there was either like this really aspirational influencer or there was like the mommy blogger style. And not to say that any of those things are bad,
Yeah.
but I just felt very disconnected from both ends. And I was like, where's the person in the middle who loves designer pieces, but also shops at Target, you know? So that was really kind of what inspired me to even start helping this niche of women. And shockingly, there's a lot of us.
The majority of us, I would say. It
Yes.
really is a majority. And that's why I think social media is such a cool tool because it connects people all over the place that are all struggling with very similar things. But just like mental health and confidence and the other topics that we cover on the show, people don't open up about the fact that they don't know how to style themselves, that they're insecure with their clothing. Like it's just an intimate topic for people. And
Mhm.
you've made it so comfortable, which
Thank
is
you.
really cool. So I'm hoping that the listeners here can not only take away tangible tips, but also relate to your journey through how you use clothes to showcase your confidence. So before you became this TikTok sensation, helping women all over the place,
Yeah.
what was your confidence journey like with clothes? Were you always into fashion? What did that look
So from a very, I think, well, for the time that I was very young and I had an understanding of what the term career even meant, like the first time I ever heard like, oh, you could have a career and that's going to be what you do for the rest of your life or whatever, which now I define career very differently. But at the time when I first heard that term, I was like, I want to work in fashion. I didn't really know what that meant, but I just always had a knowing that I wanted to work in this industry and I wanted to do something artistically in the industry. I would say for a long time, I suffered with a lot of low confidence and I still struggle with it. Yes, I'm a persona on social media, but I really struggle with like showing up sometimes as my authentic self because, throughout high school, I just always felt like I never fit in with the right people. Like I would be friends with people, but like I just never felt like I fit in because I was always wearing kind of crazy stuff. Like I remember this one time I went to a high school barbecue and I showed up wearing these like Jessica Simpson platform purple heels and like a button down shirt and Lacoste jeans that had like an alligator across the butt. And like everyone made fun of me. I just liked to always like show up and present myself in a fashion forward way, whatever that looked like. And I would always get judged for that. I'd be called like, oh, you're trying to be like Kim Kardashian or whatever. And now I'm like, no, I like to slay. And that's what that means. But, my confidence into becoming a stylist and even just becoming a creator on the internet was a long journey for me. It was not something that I just picked up overnight. I mean, I didn't even start posting my first video until I was almost 30 years old. I think it was my birthday's in May, and it was in January of that year that I posted my first video on social media. And I think I needed that time of working in the industry, learning about fashion, understanding women to really hone in on my craft and figure out what it is that I wanted to say and what message I wanted for my brand. Because I didn't want to be just like any other influencer. Like I wanted to do something that was valuable to people and that could help them in meaningful ways. And so Yeah, my confidence throughout my whole journey has been an up and down battle. It's not easy to find confidence in your style and who you are as a person. So I try to help women find that thing about themselves that they love and really highlight that in through their style.
That's so beautiful. And I love that you're so vulnerable and open about that because I think that people often look to creators and personas on the internet as they have it all figured out. They're the most confident. Like, that's what I'm trying to become, where people don't realize that there's a real person behind that has their own struggles and is constantly trying to become who they want to become too, right? Like, we never arrive at a place where we're like, yep, I got it all figured out. I'm confident. I know my style. Like, it's an ongoing journey. And I
Yeah.
love that you're open about that.
Yeah, my journey to like self-love has been very difficult. Um Throughout my entire life I've always felt low self-worth. Just like baseline every day wake up feeling low self-worth. But in the same token, I also have an extreme form of confidence. I wouldn't be able to put myself on the internet if I didn't have that. So I'm sure a lot of women can relate to this of like, you wake up, you don't feel great about yourself, but you just keep grinding and you keep putting yourself out there. And, whether that's through the work that you do or it's through being a mother or whatever it might be, I think a lot of women struggle with feeling on both ends of the spectrum, having very low self-confidence, but also having an inflated self-confidence, and those kind of drifting back and forth throughout life. So that's kind of where I've been in my own journey. And I think, it wasn't really until I met my husband that I found the confidence to truly step into my most authentic self on the internet and just be like, you know what? I don't live in like a huge mansion to showcase on the internet. Like, I don't wear designer pieces every single day. Like, I shop at Target sometimes and I shop at Old Navy. So just I think showing all of those authentic parts about myself while also using my platform to help other people helps me build some self-confidence to be and show up more as myself.
Yeah. I love that you know the difference between self-worth and self-confidence too, because I think that that's still something that people don't understand, that you can be confident and still have low self-worth.
Oh,
Like, and
100.
when those
Yeah.
two aren't matched, you're like almost at war with yourself a little bit. And it can feel very inauthentic because part of you is extremely confident and the other part of you is second guessing, am I enough? Is what I'm doing making a difference? Am I resonating with people? Like, the two can coexist at the same time.
Yeah, I think that really played a part when I was trying to decide if I wanted to quit my full time job to do content creation and styling. So in 2020, when COVID happened, my husband lost his job and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. I was working a job in marketing, I wasn't even working in fashion. I had taken a job. Uh, 3 years prior to that at a marketing agency. And I really left fashion because I couldn't find enough money to make. And I just was like not feeling fulfilled in it anymore. I think I just was really lost in what I wanted to do. And so I took a job working in marketing. And when I was working in this job, I was like, I am deeply unwell. Like, I am not happy. I'm not enjoying this. I was always like trying to find ways that I could get back into fashion, but I didn't really know how that would come about because I just felt like, okay, well, now I'm 30, I get married, I have a kid, and that's what my life is now. I just thought that that was the next step.
That's what
Um,
society's kind of programmed you to think, right?
yeah, and I just could not accept that fact. I was like, I am not gonna do that to my life. And so I actually had my bachelorette party, and one of my really good friends who I went to college with, a best friend of mine, looked me in the eye one night and she was like, "I feel like you've just given up." And that literally, like, hit my soul because no one had told me that, no one had said to me, "You have a lot of potential in what you do, like, you're great at what you do, but I feel like you've just given up on yourself." And it was in that moment that I was like, "All right, I am doing a different path, like, this is not the end for me." And so I started posting videos on TikTok, and I really tried to just be like a regular TikTok influencer, like posting my outfits, things like that, because I didn't really know what I wanted to say. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm helping style clients on the side. Let me just start posting, videos of those tips that I'm teaching them. And that just blew up. I mean, it was I think within 3 months, I had my first viral video that had like 5 million views. And I think I got like 50 or 100,000 followers in 7 days. It was like something crazy. Now, this was also during the time when TikTok was like blowing up. So it was a lot easier to get followers and gain traction in that way. So I was like, okay, this is working.
How did you feel when that all of a sudden you're like, did it boost your confidence or did you freak out?
Oh, no, I was, like, living for it. I was like, "Oh
I
my god."
love it.
Yeah, I would no, I am not gonna lie about that. I was obsessed. I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." Now, when I started getting hate comments, like, I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa."
Yeah, you're
Like,
like, "Wait,
you
hold on,
know
I didn't sign up for that though."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I still struggle with that sometimes, but yeah, so I started posting videos, and then my husband lost his job. We literally sat on our back porch crying. We were like, "What are we gonna do?" You know? And my husband was like, "Well," he's a video gaming streamer on
Okay.
YouTube, so he was already editing videos and doing his own thing on his own time. And he was like, "Well, what if I come with you and we film like in stores? That way you don't have to buy as much product. You can, reduce your consumption footprint as a creator. You can be educational." He was kind of the mastermind behind the idea of filming in stores and things like that. So we had the time, and my husband started helping me film and edit. And that is like when my content just shot off, because it really opened up a new avenue of content that no one else was doing, where I was physically going into stores, showing people how to shop, giving, relatable tips, like all of that kind of fun stuff. And the rest is history. Like, my husband now is my business partner. He does everything from editing to filming to audio recording, handling the back end of our business. So we are like a little dream team together.
I got goosebumps so many times throughout you just explaining your story because it's so cool when you see or when you have a partner especially that sees the
Mhm.
potential in you before you can see it in yourself and then helps you cultivate that. That's powerful and that truly is a dream team. So that speaks to your husband too.
Yes, he is truly an angel. Like, he honestly gives me so much confidence, and like, he is really my sounding board when it comes to like coming up with new ideas, because I'll bounce something off of him and he's like, "I don't feel like what you're saying is really authentic to you, or are you just doing this to get views?" He's always like kind of keeping me in check, which I think is a great partnership, because I often say, like, I'm the business side of our business, he's like more of the creative side of our business, so it really helps us to navigate how to have those conversations, how to build more meaningful content. And he's just like a good person in general. So, he connects when I do like my style makeovers. Like, he's just really great with helping the women too. So, yeah, it's awesome.
I love that. How long have y'all been together?
It'll be 8 years in July. We've been married for 2 years, but it'll be 8 years together. We met on Bumble.
Oh my gosh. I
Yeah.
love it.
We're like the typical millennial couple.
Perfect. Shout out to Bumble. See, it
Right.
worked.
I know. It works. Yes.
It works. And this is a side off question, but I know so many people are constantly trying to figure out, especially our single ladies, when they find a partner, if they have the potential to be able to be this power couple later down the road. Did he show you those characteristics when you guys were dating that made you feel like this potential was always there? Or did you guys just really grow together?
Yes and no. My husband values work very differently from me. And it's still a very challenging thing that we have to work through. My husband cares a lot about creativity, passion, meaningful work, where I care a lot about making money, being successful, having notoriety. Like, those things, I'm not going to lie, are important to me.
Of course.
And so we've had to really work together in balancing our working relationship, just because he's kind of like always kind of keeping me in check. Like, why are we doing this? What's the intention? All of those things. So I think, like, when I first met him, I knew that we were going to have a connection creatively, because we both were really passionate about the arts. Like, he really loved music at the time. He was DJing and music producing, and he was also doing gaming. So he had a different kind of avenue of artistic creativity. But I always knew that if we could blend both of those worlds together, we would like be unstoppable. But to be real with you, we've had to go to therapy to work on how to balance being a working couple, because it is not easy to work with your partner. It is very, very challenging, and it brings up a lot of, I actually think it speeds up the problems or issues that you have in your relationship and brings them to light quicker, because you have to work through them. Otherwise, they mesh into your work and it affects your work.
Yeah.
So we've had to go to therapy to really work on communication, like how we navigate disagreements, like all of those types of things, and not let them be enmeshed in our marriage, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. And bravo to you guys for the maturity level so early on into your marriage to
Thank you.
understand that that can be a really big point of contention.
My dad went into business with his second wife. They weren't. It was his business, but she started working with him, and I watched growing up that relationship and that dynamic and the unhealthy things, communication, all of those things. And I told Christian, I was like, I do not want to repeat history here. I want to make sure that we are being proactive in the help that we might need to get through a very challenging, journey that we're on, because there are nights where we're working till 8 and 9 o'clock and we don't see each other, or, we're just busy. It's hard to make time for us, for our relationship. So we have to really actively work on that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to be able to disconnect the two, especially when you live together, you work together, you're married to each other. And then it's like, okay, now how do I like pour into you and have hobbies and date nights? And like, do
Oh
we
yeah.
talk about work? Do we talk about anything else?
We've had to honestly like have rules where we're like, okay, we're not going to talk about work, but it happens. I'll be like, sometimes I'll be laying in bed and my eyes are shut, like we're both falling asleep, and he's like maybe still on his phone or something. And I'm like, I have an idea. Write this in your phone and text it to me, and I'm like just blurting out the idea, because I always get my best ideas when I'm about to fall asleep.
Love
But
that.
we work in that dynamic, but we do our best to prioritize our marriage. But I would be lying if I said that it's not really, really challenging, very challenging. But it also makes the relationship rewarding, when we get to have successful moments together.
Yeah. You guys are building an empire literally
Yeah.
together from the ground up.
We always
So
say our dream is to be like Chip and Joanna Gaines, like that, but for fashion. That's
love,
really what we want to be. Like that's how we're navigating what we're trying to do, is like we want to be, Chip and Joanna.
I love that. See, you have like role models to look to and like a direction, but you guys are still paving your own way entirely. And you said
Yes.
you worked 3 jobs when he lost his job. So then at what point were you like, okay, I'm quitting everything and diving into this full time?
Yeah. So the 3 jobs that I worked after that were content creation, which, it's a full-time job. I know a lot of people don't think that influencing and content creation, they don't put the respect on it that it is, and I get it. But it is a challenging job, to film and to edit and to constantly be on. One thing I didn't realize about content creation is you are on 24/7. You don't get PTO. Like you can take vacation, sure, but like even when you're on vacation, you're sharing content, it's very hard for you to step away from it. But I was doing content creation. I was styling clients on the side virtually and in person. And then I was doing my marketing job. So
Wow.
how I would manage that is I would literally do my marketing job as much as I could during the day. Like if I had meetings, I would try to get all my work done in the beginning half of the day. And then in the afternoons, if I had the time, that's when I would do virtual consultations. Like, I mean, my job didn't know this, but I was working virtually. So I would be like taking, my lunch break, or I would be, if I had an hour, I would just do that and like do my virtual consultations or go visit clients. And then on the weekends, for every weekend for almost a year, we were filming videos, and we would have to film 3 in one day because we didn't have time to do them any other time during the week. It was a lot. So, like, I looking back on that experience, I'm like, I don't know what discipline bug I got, because I've never been a very disciplined person, but there was just something in me that was like, I have to do this in order to like get where I need to be, and I just have to suck it up.
Yeah.
And so I'll never forget, we went on a trip to Miami for an event with a bra company that I work with often, and they had me there doing like a fitting and like meeting people and doing content and everything. And we got back to the hotel, and I was suffering a lot from depression, anxiety. Like I couldn't even go into restaurants because it was so overstimulating for me. So I was like having
Mhm.
agoraphobia. Like I was just having symptoms of stress. Like I didn't realize that's what it was, but I was just so overwhelmed. And so we were sitting in a Miami hotel room and I was just crying my eyes out and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I really can't. Like, I'm getting to the point where like I'm going to have a nervous breakdown if I keep working like this.
Yeah.
And so I got in the shower and I just had one of those like cries under the warm water and I'm like,
Yep.
okay, like this is what I need to do. So when I got back, I worked for another like 2 or 3 months and I quit my job. I just made sure that I like had everything kind of lined up. But I just was in a meeting one day, and they were talking about, oh, this is what we're gonna do in 3 months, or yada yada. I was like, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to schedule this meeting today. I need to talk to my manager and I'm quitting my job. And I just did it on a whim. And I always tell people that if you jump, a net will appear. It always happens. And every risk I've ever taken, it always happens. And I don't know if you're very spiritual or like believe in God, but, for me, I did a lot of like praying. And I was like, if this is meant for me, then let this evolve the way it's supposed to happen, even if that means that I'm unsure for the first month or so. And it was after that time that I quit my job, I got like a really big brand deal and I was like, "Oh, I'm good." You know? So yeah, it was a difficult process, but I'm really happy that I finally did it.
Well, it takes a lot of bravery and courage to step into something completely unknown. It takes a big sense of confidence to have enough belief in yourself that you can become an entrepreneur and that you can work
Yes.
for yourself. And it's good you said your dad was an entrepreneur, so you had an idea of what that looked like.
My dad would try to, like, give me advice, but, my dad doesn't understand content creation, so he was like, "I don't
Yeah.
get how you make money," and I'm like, "Don't worry about it," like but my dad was like, "When you're ready, you'll know. Like, you'll just have this knowing," and I did, like, I had that feeling when I was in the meeting, I was like, "This is just I'm done. Like, I'm ready to walk away." And I don't care if I go broke or I can't figure it out, like, I will figure it out. I trust in myself that I will find something, even if it means like I have to work somewhere that I don't want to have to work. I'm willing to do that to make it happen.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, my dad gave me some good advice, and he was just that when I called him, I was just crying, and I was like, "I did it, Dad! Like I quit my job." My dad was crying. It was fun. It was a good time. I look back on that very fondly.
That's amazing. And how old were you at this point?
This was last February, so I
Wow.
was 31. Or I was 30, I was about to turn 31. Yeah. If you would have asked me at 25, like, "You're gonna be an entrepreneur," I'd be like, "No," because I used to tell people I would go to bars and, like, meet guys, and I would be like they were like, "What do you wanna do when you get older?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna be the next Anna Wintour." Like, I would straight face say that to people because I thought that I had to be part of, like, a corporation or an organization. I didn't think that I could do it on my own. I didn't have the confidence in myself that I could be Anna Wintour, but own Vogue. Like, I didn't think that I could do that. And so if you were to ask me when I was like 25 or 26 or even at 28, like you're about to own your own business and you're going to make content, you're going to do this and you're going to help all these women, I would have never believed you. It's just crazy.
That's so cool. It's so cool when you tap into your potential and what you're actually capable of, and you also listen to that knowing. Because
Yeah.
I think for so many of our listeners too, we all have that knowing. And you had brought up that you're a woman of faith as well, that when you have that placed on your heart or you have that gut feeling, you have that intuition, and you listen to it, it pays off every single time. But I think so many people get scared because they have the excuses. I'm not smart enough. I'm not creative enough. I'm too old.
Mhm.
I XYZ, and actually listening to that, like you're living proof of when you do and you dive in, you can create something really beautiful and that you love.
Thank you. That's really, really kind of you to say and means a lot to me because even when you say that out loud, this is where that like self-confidence thing comes in. I'm like, I don't 100% believe that I've done it. There's sometimes I always like kind of live in this like scarcity, which I think is a good thing too. I'm always like, okay, like I've done this, but I haven't done this. And I've really tried to work on lately of just being thankful and present with where I'm at, no matter if this could all end tomorrow. Who knows? And so I just try to like take it day by day and be thankful and I'm just honestly so happy to have the opportunities that I have. I'm so grateful that I get to wake up every day and do something that I love and help women. And that to me always is a sign from God that I am moving in a direction that is giving purpose and meaning towards my life through helping other people.
Absolutely. And I relate to that so much because when you're in it and when you're a high achiever and when you're hard on yourself, it's really hard to just take a step back and look at what you've done and be grateful for what you've done. And I think from a business perspective, that scarcity mindset, that hustle, that what's next is a really good thing when you're an entrepreneur. But then when you look at yourself as just a woman and as a human being, it's hard when you're so hard on yourself
Mhm.
because you can't fully be present in your achievements because you still have that voice in your head saying, but it's not enough. I want more.
Yes. Yeah, and that's something that my husband has helped me a lot realize, and that's where our values are different, where he's like, "Be thankful for the opportunities that you have. Be thankful that you can just wake up every day and, not feel like you have to answer to someone." Yeah, you have to answer to somebody, whether it be a brand or your manager, whatever it might be, but like, I'm grateful that I'm just able to wake up and enjoy living again because for so long in my life, I didn't like my life. I wasn't happy in my life. There were things I liked, but I wasn't happy in who I was and what I was doing. And now I feel fulfilled in the person that I am. I feel happy about who I am versus spending most of my 20s being trying to be somebody I wasn't.
Yeah. It sounds like your self worth is a lot higher than you think it is.
Yeah, maybe it is. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it is.
You get moments in that. And I think
Yeah.
that when you are hard on yourself, and I'm saying this from experience because I live with this all the time, that it's hard to think of yourself as somebody that has high self-worth when you don't always feel like you're bringing value and you don't always feel fulfilled and you don't always feel happy with what you're doing. But I've come to realize that knowing that you get a portion of that is something that a lot of people don't experience
Yeah.
because a lot of people settle. And
Totally.
that's something that I have tried to make my mission. And like, I never want to settle in any area of my life,
Mm.
whether that's in my career or in my mental health or in my relationship or in the way I impact other people. And you had brought up that mental health was something that you were struggling with when you were trying to build the business, and you brought up anxiety and depression. Is that still something that is affecting your everyday life, or what does that look like for you?
Yes. So I don't know if I've ever shared this publicly online, but I suffer really bad with not even social anxiety because I'm a very like extroverted person, but I struggle with like going to public places and just engaging publicly, like whether it be like even when I do like my meet and greets, like my style sessions with my community and stuff, I get so nervous. Like, I'm just like always so scared. And I have this feeling where I'm like scared I'm gonna pass out, or I feel like I'm like gonna lose my grip on reality or whatever. It's called derealization if you've never heard of it before, but
Mhm.
it's like a weird sensation that happens from anxiety where you just feel very disconnected from like the environment, from reality and things like that. And it's like it doesn't make you feel like you're completely crazy, but you feel like you're losing your mind for like a second and then you come back and then you're fine. So I struggle a lot with derealization and anxiety. And that has crippled me many times in a lot of my working engagements. For example, if I'm like on a call with a client and I'm about to hit that join the Zoom, I'm over there thinking like, am I going to be strong enough to like mentally get through this? Even though I end up doing fine, it's
Mhm.
like where I just don't have that confidence in my anxiety yet. I'm working on that. Like I'm working on learn. I used to want to get rid of my anxiety, whereas now I've learned to use it as a resource, as like a ticket into anything fun or special that I get to do. Like I saw this quote once, or someone said this where um, nervousness or anxiety is the ticket into doing something special or grand. Like, so if you are about to, let's say, do a public speaking engagement, or you're about to do something that you just feel really nervous about, it's like every person experiences that unsettling feeling, and you just kind of have to go into it and accept it. So I'm learning to accept my mental illness as part of who I am rather than a disability to who I am, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And just learning to, again, like work on loving myself where I'm at. I suffer with anxiety. I suffer with imposter syndrome. I'm always second guessing things about myself. And so through therapy, it's been super helpful. But I also feel like just showing up and doing it is also what has helped me get through.
Yeah, I resonate with that so much. There's
Yeah.
this quote that I think back to all the time where it's feel the fear and do it anyways,
Yes.
because I'm fearful of everything that I put out. I'm fearful of how I'm going to show up whenever there's a social situation because I don't want to disappoint myself and I don't want to disappoint other people. And I
Yeah.
think that anxiety tells us a lot of lies, and it's not ever really something that can go away. Like, I think people can master it. And you can have tools in your toolbox to help minimize the impact that it has on you. But
Mhm.
I do think that once you understand it and once you understand yourself a little bit deeper, you can use it as kind of a superpower, just like you were saying, and come to terms with it more.
Yeah, whenever I went on my first television appearance, in New York, it was on Good Day New York. It literally was so crippling for me. Now, as soon as I got the email that they wanted me to come on, I was like, absolutely, like it was no question in my mind. Like I got this because I want that type of, you know, public relationship. I want to be able to go on television, help more people. I want to be more confident in that way. But when I was in that green room, I was like, "Christian, I'm going to pass out. Like, I am not okay," you
Yeah.
know? But as soon as I got up there, I really just blacked out, and I don't even know what I said, but I was just like, just rolling with it, like, letting it happen. And then when I come out of it, I feel like elated. I'm like, "Oh my god, like I just did that. That was amazing," So I always like look at I've been working on reframing how I look at my fear and just realizing that it's like part of it. Like I'm never going to get rid of it. It just is part of who I am. It's part of all of us. Like we're always going to be fearful of doing things or scared. And same with me quitting my job. I was so scared to do that, but then once I did it, I felt elated. So I think it's like just working on exercising that muscle of acceptance and feeling like it's okay if I feel scared. Doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm talking about. Doesn't mean that I'm not capable or, the right person to be on this TV show, because you're,
Absolutely.
you're always thinking like someone's going to find out that I don't know anything,
Always, like, I'm going to be exposed. And
Yes.
then it is interesting when you go into that moments of complete blacking out where you have those skills, you have those tools that you prove yourself wrong time and time again. And I feel like you just brought up too, it's a muscle that you have to exercise constantly. That I'm hopeful that someday, and I've noticed that even through doing this podcast, I used to get so anxious, especially when I was talking to somebody that I don't know prior, that it's like, oh, I want to make sure they're comfortable. What if they don't like me? What if they don't like my questions? And it's now gotten to a point that I've done it enough times. There's enough repetition there that even though I get nervous, I have that muscle memory that it
Yes.
just kind of kicks back in.
Yeah.
And I think if you guys are going to be Chip and Joanna Gaines, like you're going to be on that TV a
Well,
lot.
my dream with Styling with Kenzie is to have my own TV show. Like, people are like, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't say that. I'm like, why? Like, I want to put it out there that that's something that I want. Like, I want people to know that that's what I'm working towards because those people can help support me or they might know someone, So I'm never fearful about sharing my dreams or things that I want to accomplish because there's always someone listening that can either feel inspired or that can be helpful.
Absolutely.
And if I want to have my own TV show, my husband's like, you gotta work on feeling more confident. You gotta work on exercising that muscle of overcoming fear, So that's I think part of my journey right now is really working on that. And that's why going into stores is very intimidating because everyone's watching me. I'm having to talk a little bit louder than I'd like to talk. Oftentimes I'm like, hey guys, so today we're, my husband's like, speak up, So I'm actually working on exercising that muscle through the content that I do right now to hopefully get me to the point where I can have my own TV show.
I love that so much. And I
Mhm.
have no doubt that that's going to happen.
Well,
I'm a
thank
big
you.
believer too that the more you put that out there, you are proving to yourself and you're also, like you said, inspiring somebody or the right person is listening that can help you get there.
Totally.
And I know you do your style makeovers. You were just doing a big casting for it. What does that look like?
So For like 2 years ago, when I started styling Kenzie, I had this idea of wanting to do a style makeover on realistic women, very similar to What Not to Wear. Oftentimes on my TikTok or my Instagram, people will say I'm like the modern day Stacey London, which I take as a huge compliment. I loved Stacey and Clinton growing up. I used to watch What Not to Wear all the time.
all the time.
But I also didn't like the mean spirit. And I know that the intention wasn't to be mean to people. Like, I know that they were trying to be fun on TV or, like, add some dramatization to it. But I never liked that tone of talking to women. I feel like I just wanted to create a makeover series on my page that was empowering, that was showing so many different types of women, realistic budgets. All of my style makeovers are under $1,000. And I really try to help women find a style that they truly love while also feeling confident in dressing for their body. So I started those styling makeovers. I found people on a Facebook group that I had reached out to that I here in Atlanta. And I was just filming them on my tripod. And then that's when my husband lost his job and he started helping me film. And we bought this little, it was like a stabilizer off Amazon. And we just started filming them on my phone, like more high end. And they evolved into what we're doing today, which is now starting in March. So next weekend, we're filming our first style makeover for 2024. And we are renting out a studio. We are showcasing hair and makeup stylist just so that we can highlight other creatives and give, exposure to other people. And then we're also just helping women from around the country. Like, we have women traveling to come and stay with us for 2 days to film this. Are we still going to be filming it like on our iPhone or camera on a stabilizer? Absolutely, because that's just where we're at. I don't have millions of dollars in a production crew, but I'm going to make it look as nice as possible and have, very like reality show where we have interviews with them. It's just going to be taking it to the next level.
So cool.
Yeah,
I
thank
love that you're,
you.
and I'm sure you got so many submissions.
Oh my God, so many. Yes, I actually had to turn away a lot of them and just say, "Hey, can you wait until the fall?" You know, I can't do everybody in the spring because right now, up until July, we have 2 a month, and that's on a Friday and Saturday, and it kind of like gets into our personal lives when we're having to film on the weekends. We try to like avoid that, but I realize that some people can't leave their jobs and stuff like that. So I try to be respectful of those things, but eventually we'll get to a point where we can have a bigger production crew. But we're really excited because Bloomingdale's is actually going to be a sponsor for the videos, and they're donating $500 worth of free merchandise to the person who we're helping. So that's going to be a really awesome partnership that we have, and we're hoping to get more brands to get involved.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, if you are listening and you work for a fashion brand right now and you want to get involved,
Yes,
now's the time to do it.
we would love that.
How different is this from your masterclass?
So my masterclass is really about helping women who want to have like a virtual consultation with me. So if you've ever wanted to have like a one-on-one, because I do virtual consultations and I also do in person. And in those consultations, I teach women like how to build a capsule wardrobe, how to identify your personal style, and how to really be more intentional with how you shop. And we can talk a little bit about that if you want some
Yeah.
more details. But I wanted to take that approach that I have and just make it into a course that was more affordable, because my rate for doing an hourly course is a lot more expensive than just doing a 6-part video series on my website. So in my masterclass, you learn, kind of my technique of finding your most authentic style, how to build a capsule wardrobe, spring and summer and fall and winter. And we also have links where you can shop all of the pieces that you see in the video. And then we go through and talk about actually the art of styling and how to master elevating style while keeping it really simple. So even if you're wearing just a great t-shirt and a pair of jeans, like how can you elevate that to make it look even better than just your typical t-shirt and a pair of jeans? And there are ways that you can, it's picking out the right t-shirt. It's making sure that you have a good pair of durable denim. It's making sure that you're selecting the right shoe, jewelry. All of those things really play a factor into building a great outfit. And what a lot of people don't realize is that having great style or building a good outfit is not easy. It is not something that just comes to you. You have to, I often tell clients, you have to build a muscle on understanding how to style yourself, how to shop, how to build a wardrobe that you truly love. So there's a lot of factors that go into just putting a t-shirt and a pair of jeans together, like, and actually making it look fashion forward and modern.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many of the questions that we got with our Instagram stories that we put out the other day, you answer those questions throughout your masterclass. So
Yeah.
we won't touch on too many of those because I want to direct as many of you to the masterclass as possible because it's so comprehensive.
Yeah.
And you cover it in a way that makes sense to somebody that is not involved in the fashion industry. I think
Yeah.
there's so many women that we want to look cute, we want to look stylish and put together, but we're not pulling inspiration from the runway.
Mhm.
Like, you want real attainable style, and you do a really good job at sourcing different companies to be able to provide those outfits and those looks to people.
Yeah, everything that I link and show on there is either under $100 or under $50. I really focus on attainable, realistic style, but making you look like it's elevated and on trend, because I have found that after COVID, most women, like, especially if you're going into your 30s, your whole framework of how you think about getting dressed has completely shifted. Most of you are working from home. You don't want to get up every day and have to take on the stress of figuring out what you're going to wear, but you also don't want to wear pajamas every day because that doesn't make you feel good about yourself. You want to feel like you're putting in some effort. So that's why I tell women that it's so important to have an 80-20 rule. 80% of your wardrobe should be good quality basics that can have some variety and style. It's not like you only have t-shirts. You can have cute blouses or things like that, but just things that are timeless in style. And then 20% are your specialty items. So this is like if you're going to a wedding or if you have, a special occasion that you really want to go to. But I often tell people that that 20% should still not feel like fast fashion. It shouldn't feel like you're just buying things and getting rid of it because most millennials, the way that we shop is for special occasions. We need a new outfit for a date night. We need a new outfit for a baby shower. We need a new outfit to go on vacation, and that is where you start building a wardrobe that one doesn't make sense or two that's really cluttered, but you feel like you have nothing to wear. So that's why I try to really help women reframe the way that they think about their wardrobe. And you learn a lot about that in my masterclass.
That's huge. That's something that I struggle with so much. I was looking at my closet getting ready today. Like I was telling you off air that I'm like, okay, what would Kenzie tell me to wear? Cuts t-shirt, a blazer, like something you're
What are we
comfortable
dressed
in.
right now?
Girl, I take a lot of inspo from you. The
Cuts t-shirt, the best t-shirt you've ever had in
best,
your life.
truly the best. And
Truly.
they hold up forever,
Yes.
forever and ever. Cuts, if you'd like to sponsor this, please do. Um, I was looking at my closet while I was getting ready, and I fall into that category where I have so many clothes, but nothing to wear.
Right.
And I don't have an outfit that I can just reach for that I know I'm going to feel good in.
Mm.
And that's kind of how I've been trying to shift my style is that I almost have these like go-to like uniforms, quote unquote, that the days that I don't know what I want to wear, but I want to feel good in my clothes, that I just have something to go to. Do
Yeah.
you have that kind of framework too? Do you help clients through that?
Yeah, I have actually like outfit formulas is a technique that I teach a lot of my clients. It's where you basically have 3 to 5, or you could even have 8 different formulas of things that work for you that you feel great in, that look good on your body type, but that you can easily reference back to anytime you need a new outfit idea that isn't going to require a lot of time. So
Mm.
for some people, it might be wearing a pair of trousers and a graphic t-shirt. You could do that so many different ways with different colors, different graphic tees. It could be with sneakers, it could be with heels. Like you're wearing that same silhouette multiple different ways. For me, mine is always like I'm either doing like a midi skirt and a tight shirt, or I'm doing a pair of jeans, a t-shirt, or some sort of blouse shirt and like sneakers. Or I'm doing, like a maybe like a little mini dress or something like that. But I've realized like for me, more fitted clothing looks better on me than the oversized trend that a lot of people wear.
Hmm.
Um, so, really figuring out your body type is going to be key too when you're determining what are the best outfit formulas for you.
That's huge. And when I was growing up and looking at fashion, it was constantly like, I mean, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, we were looking at magazines and like on commercials, or if you walked past a store and you're seeing a girl styled, and they were always straight size models. That
Mhm.
then when I would put that item on my body, it was a way to like reinforce that insecurity that it didn't look good on me like it did on them. And I think that's a framework a lot of women get stuck in.
Yeah. I didn't know that I had a short torso until like maybe 5 years ago. Not lying. Because I didn't really understand for a long time, like, why does something not look right on me? Or why do I feel like everyone's wearing, because when high-rise jeans started to really come back and everyone was wearing them, I was like, "These do not look right on me." Like, I have literally this much space between my boobs and my jeans. Like, what is I have no
Yeah, what's
waistline,
going on?
you know? And it wasn't until I really started styling other women and kind of understanding what was going on with that, that I realized, oh, that actually doesn't work for me either, you know? So when I switched to mid rise, I realized, oh, a mid rise jean fits like a high rise on me. I would have
Hmm.
never known that unless I'd kind of really helped other women or just done my own research in investigating what styles work for me. A lot of women don't want to have to put in the work to have to shop and try on a bunch of different things. And I can sympathize with that because it's really frustrating and annoying. But I always tell women, I'm like, give yourself like 3 months of not buying anything and just testing out clothes, like just seeing what works and what fits for you, and not settling for something,
Yeah.
just because you're seeing an influencer wear it. That's like the biggest problem I see a lot of women fall into. I had this one client once who, when we got on Zoom call, her entire closet, I'm not kidding, her entire closet were influencer sweaters. Like, and the reason I knew this is because I see influencers, like a lot of them promote a lot of the same things, like from Nordstrom, things like that, and it was like the same influencer sweater, jacket, like, I mean, it was like everything. The hottest sandals that were for that summer, it was like I could pinpoint the years that that was like a popular thing, and she had them in her wardrobe, and she was like, "I just don't like anything in my closet." And I was like, "Well, girl, you don't like it because you don't have your own personal sense of style." And
Yeah.
that's where we had to work together to really figure out what that looked like, and she realized, like, "Oh, yeah, like, I like influencer style, but that isn't my personal style." There's degrees to, like, wanting to dress like people you see on the internet, but also realizing that in order to have great style, you have to have some personalization, some authenticity in it. Otherwise, it's not gonna resonate completely with you.
Totally. And I've even noticed going into my 30s, like my sense of style and the way clothes look on me is different. And I don't want to look like I'm 21 anymore.
Mhm.
Like, and a lot of the influencers that I'll see, I'm like, oh, that's cute, but like it is young looking for me.
Yeah.
And the stores that I used to shop at and all of that, it's different. And I
Mhm.
think women kind of get stuck in this always worked. So either I don't know what's going to work moving forward, or like since it worked, it should keep working. And
Mhm.
I always encourage women that if your wardrobe doesn't fit your current body type, like let go of aspirational, inspirational, the jeans that fit you 10 years ago. Like that's not serving you in this moment. Do you see a lot of your clients that come in that still are holding on to pieces that they want to wear, or that they're struggling to like enter a new chapter?
Yes and no. I see a lot of women holding on to 2 types of clothing. One is either they've spent a lot of money on it, but they've never worn it, so they have a hard time disconnecting from it. Um, and I always try to teach them about cost per wear, and, like, I'm like, "You got your money's worth if you did wear it, and if you didn't, just look at it as a mistake and resell it on Poshmark, or you can donate it to someone who would really deserve and enjoy wearing that." The other thing is women often hold on to clothing for size. And I want to be really sensitive when I talk about this because I know how important it is for women, especially postpartum moms and things like that, who feel like, I just want to get back to that pre baby weight, or I just want to get back to losing 20 pounds and I'll feel better and then be able to fit in these clothes. And I tell women, I'm like, let's work on loving your body where it's at right now and dressing it in a way that you can feel confident with where you're at. Because it's like you're self harming in a way by holding on to those clothes and like believing that you're going to go back there. And maybe you will, but, you know, I just feel like it's like a terrible thing to hold on to clothes that are too small with the promise or idea that you might be able to fit in them. Like, let's just work on loving your body where you're at now. And I think this is like a societal issue that we have with women, but learning to love where you're at right now and embracing your body is the best outfit that you can have on.
Amen. I could not agree more with that. And something that I had struggled with when it came to fashion for most of my life is that I shopped for a size. And if I was bigger than that size, I
Mhm.
would get really discouraged. It was an emotional process. Like I'm having flashbacks to like trying on buckle jeans and like being a size too big and crying in there and yelling at my mom because I was too big. And I think this is such a common thing that women go through. But I started working as a fit model in New York City in my mid 20s.
Mm,
And I started to understand what goes into actually making clothes and why there's no universal sizing. That's why
mhm,
you can go into one store and you can be a certain size there, and then you're two sizes bigger in this other store and three sizes smaller in the other store. And this knowledge was so empowering for me that I just don't think women understand that it's a business and they're capitalizing on women's emotions when it comes to sizing.
100%. I actually made a video last year or the year before, I can't remember, on this exact issue where told women, I was like, stop worrying about your size and focus more on the fit
Mhm.
because of this exact thing. Like, Banana Republic is actually a notorious place that a lot of women shop that has very different sizing from, let's say, like an H&M. Um, Oftentimes I'll be like a size 6'4" in Banana Republic, but then I'll be like an 8'10" in H&M or somewhere else, you know? I've really disconnected as a person from sizing because it's really irrelevant to me. I just focus more on like, how is this fitting on me? Do I need to size up because I have larger boobs? Maybe I fit in the waist, but my boobs are large. So I think that, yeah, to your point, like women should really focus on the fit of something and not be so tied down by this idea of needing to fit into another size. I actually told a family member once, I was like, just cut out, if it bothers you that much, just cut out the tag in your clothing so you don't even have to look at it.
Absolutely. I released a confidence course in August of last year, and we just like did the official launch earlier this month, actually, or last month in February. And
Congratulations.
thank you. There's a whole episode in there that talks about the fashion industry influence and some of the psychology behind where we're getting these ideals from, like how it's been instilled in you that you need to be a certain size in order to be beautiful.
Mm,
And I feel like once you have that knowledge and take fashion so personally anymore,
mhm,
that it is a personal thing and your personal style and it is individualized. But when you take the psychology out of it, that you need to fit into a certain size or be on a certain trend or shop at a certain place, fashion becomes fun.
mhm.
And that's what it's meant to be, right? But so many of us can't get over that block.
Well, okay, so I would agree with you and I would also disagree with you. So I agree with you that fashion in general puts on a kind of a pressure for women to be a certain size just based off like industry standard that they abide by.
Yeah.
But I also think we would be we would not be empowering women if we didn't also acknowledge the struggle that plus size women face when it comes to the fashion industry.
Yes.
And I think that's an important topic to talk about too, because plus size women historically have always been at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to having fashion forward trending style that fits really nicely and that they feel like looks like what other people are wearing that are either mid-size or standard size. And that has been a huge frustration that I've even experienced working as a stylist, is finding and resourcing or finding and sourcing these styles for plus size women that they feel like they're not wearing something that's frumpy or that looks dated or that doesn't fit them correctly or maybe isn't even a size that they can fit in. Even some of the largest plus size women struggled to even find sizes that fit them.
Yeah.
So I think, it's a bigger issue, something that probably we couldn't tackle today, but it
Yeah.
is such like a frustrating thing for women of all sizes, whether it's petite or if you're on the spectrum of plus size, to find clothing that you can truly feel is the same as
Mhm.
a standard size clothing store.
And finding that carried in the stores. Where
Oh,
often you
100.
can't go shop and you can't have 3 girlfriends with 3 different body types be able to get the same quality of clothing or the same piece
Mhm,
in their sizing in store.
mhm,
And
100.
that's so disempowering and so frustrating. I was shopping with a girlfriend last week and she goes, "I can't go in there because they never have my size." And the fact that we haven't adapted and stores haven't adapted, like, I think the fashion industry gets a lot of praise that we're showcasing all different types of body through marketing right now,
Yeah,
but when it comes down to it, they're not fully executing that when it comes to
yeah.
actually caring and designing for everybody.
Yeah, and it's a complicated subject because there is like a financial business side to it where a lot of retailers can't afford to have stock in that many sizes or SKUs. You know, as someone, I've looked into having my own clothing line and kind of what goes into that, and it's really expensive to have, you know, so many different SKUs of sizes. Now, a retailer that makes a lot of money, there's absolutely no excuse for why they can't have that available for plus size women. But it is there, it's a complicated thing because, you know, it does sometimes come down to finances and things like that. But one thing that I try to do as a stylist and what I've shown in my style makeovers is if I'm working with a plus size woman and we are going physically shopping in stores, I will call ahead to those stores and make sure that they have plus sizes available for that client so that they're still getting the in-store shopping experience. And whether it's having like a full rack from them to choose from, or it's just having what the store's capable of doing or ordering ahead of time and placing in the dressing room, I always do my best to have, you know, plus size options available for those people so that they feel like they're not being excluded from a shopping experience with me. And one brand that's been really great in doing that has been Madewell.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
they've been awesome. I've loved working with them. They always like will order things ahead of time that I don't actually have to pay for myself because sometimes I will have to do that. And they're like, yeah, we'll have them sent to the store and have a rack set up for you and all of that. So it's really nice to work with brands that see the value in making other women feel just as important no matter what their size is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Madewell. What are some of your go-to stores when you're either shopping online or if you're going in person that you really like for a client that is in that like median budget that
Yeah.
wants to spend some money on quality pieces? We're not trying to go to Forever 21, but we're
Mhm.
also not shopping designer items for
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah, so probably my favorite right now is Dish. I don't know if you've ever shopped at Dish before.
Ever.
I love Dish. I love Cezanne, or Suzanne. I'm not sure. I think it's Suzanne, but they're really nice. I also like to shop at Quince. Now, these are mostly e-commerce sites. I'll share some of,
This
you know,
is helpful because I don't know any of these.
yeah. So, Dish, Suzanne, and then also Quince is really awesome. Hands down, the Tomboy tee from Cuts Clothing is going to be forever my favorite place for good quality t-shirts. I also love, it's called Naked Fashion, but they are a little like H&M inspired, but they do have some good trend-setting pieces that I've loved. But another one of my favorites is COS. Have you ever shopped at COS before?
Never.
So COS is a subsidiary store of H&M, which just means that they are like a sister, cousin, parent company. And they have a lot of really good quality pieces at an affordable price that I think most 30-year-olds will love to shop at, like 30 plus. So I don't know where you live at, but highly recommend checking out if you have a COS store in your location because it is chef's kiss. I love it so
How do you
much.
spell that? COS.
Yeah.
Cost. Yeah,
And
never.
honestly, don't sleep on Abercrombie. Like, I'm wearing an Abercrombie blazer right now. I know they gave us trauma from the early 2000s, but I have forgiven them because they have really stepped it up when it comes to providing good quality, basic style that's affordable.
Yeah, at a decent price.
Yeah.
It has been interesting to see some of these brands that have really revamped
Mhm.
and made their way back with our same age group where it's like, yes, they caused a lot of trauma when we were in high school and middle school. But now that's one of my go-tos that I'm
Yeah.
constantly shopping. And I know
Abercrombie is so smart. I mean, they understood the market. They really leaned into that, and they have been a trendsetter for, you know, that type of style because now every brand is doing that. Like I went into H&M the other day and like everything is like, classic inspired pieces. And I just think that's awesome that Abercrombie is being like a trendsetter in that way.
Absolutely. And I do feel like they put a lot of time and attention into their fit. Like
Mhm.
their pieces are very true to size and the quality is always there.
Yes, 100%.
I'm impressed with it. And I saw you do a video the other day too, Target and Walmart, on how they're
Mhm.
trying to like elevate their
Oh,
fashion
yeah.
style. And I'm actually kind of impressed lately
Mhm.
with the pieces that are coming out. Like, don't
Yeah.
sleep on those.
I always get nervous making those videos because I'm always thinking like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to get a brand deal, with when I talk about brands like that. But I feel like it's so important for creators to create, especially in the fashion space, to create authenticity, conversations that are, rooted in a lot of like the things that their community is feeling as a consumer. And I just realized I'm like, I'm never going to compromise. Like, I'm never going to be a sellout. Like, I'm always going to just speak my truth and be honest and say things that, feel authentic to me. Because if I'm having these thoughts, I'm sure so many people from my community are also feeling the same way. Like, it's a hard thing to have to say on the internet, but I feel like it also holds brands accountable, to see that other people are talking about your brand in a way that they want you to, come back to life, or they want you to
Yeah.
really think about what you're doing and how you're speaking to your customer. So, yeah, I always try to speak truthfully and give my opinion in a way that's respectful but still educates people on what's going on. But yeah, Walmart is the new it girl.
It's honestly
Never thought I would
amazing,
say that, but they are.
right? That's truly amazing. And I also think that's what makes you so successful and so relatable online too, because people know that you are speaking not only from your professional experience and what you're seeing in
Mhm.
trends and the business side of it, but you're also providing value for people that just want to know, like, where can I get affordable clothes?
Yeah.
You do a really, really good job at that.
Thank
And
you.
speaking of affordable clothes, we'll go to the opposite end of the spectrum because a lot of the questions that we got is women trying to decide if designer items are worth it. You did a video where a lot of us think like if you do a designer item, it has to be a bag.
Mm.
And you were talking about different pieces that you can get and how it's an investment. Can you explain why it's an investment and why women, if that is something that they want to do, why should they not just be looking at the bags? Why should they consider other fashion pieces?
Well, I think women have been taught, just I don't know by who, but just in general, that like buying a bag is the way to go because it holds resale value. It's an item that you'll have forever, like it's a collector item type of thing. And yeah, that is great. I do think that handbags are wonderful to have, but let's talk about the Louis Vuitton Neverfull. Everyone has that handbag now. It's lost its luxurious feeling, and that's why I often say, like, if you're gonna buy designer pieces, like, don't just hone in on buying a handbag. Like, sometimes having a great pair of designer sunglasses paired with a Target outfit could really just elevate the look. So if you're gonna buy designer pieces, be more open-minded to a pair of shoes, a piece of jewelry, even a nice pair of sunglasses, or even a jacket. Like jackets sometimes can hold the same retail value as a purse,
Mm.
and so I just feel like if you're going to buy a designer piece, like don't just automatically lean into buying the handbag. Really do some research, look at different brands. Most people only know about like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, or Prada or whatever. I don't know. But most people know about Louis Vuitton and Gucci. Those are like the two most popular I find. And I try to encourage women to like do some more research on other brands. Like there's brands like Bottega Veneta right now that are like really becoming like the it girl brand when it comes to designer pieces. The Row. The Row is like very minimal, but the quality of those pieces and the designs are absolutely beautiful. Kate is a great designer luxury brand that is really taking off. So it doesn't have to be a Louis Vuitton in order to be a good quality designer item. So I always want to educate women that there are far more unique, interesting, fashion forward designer pieces that you could maybe buy 2 pieces instead of 1, or you buy a really good quality wool jacket that will last you forever. So really kind of reframing how you think about designer pieces and not just buying them because an influencer told you that this is the bag of the season, you have to have it.
Yep. Well, like you said, you're all about the high low. You
Yes.
got the value
And
for everybody, and I love that.
yes, 100%.
I have learned so much from you, and you're even more wonderful in person to
Oh,
talk to,
thank
and
you.
I just appreciate you on a human level beyond just the value you provide online. So I appreciate you being here, but something that we like to end our episodes with now,
Yeah.
because I find that it's so hard for women to vocalize something that they're proud of for themselves.
Mhm.
And I know we kind of already touched on this before, but I would love to hear something, whether it's in your personal or professional life, that happened to you this week that you are proud of yourself for.
Ooh.
I know it's hard.
I would say, I'm proud of does it have to be you said it could be professional or
Personal
personal?
or professional.
I think I was a good wife this week, and that's what I'm proud of. Sometimes I don't always show up as a good wife, and the reason I say that is because I feel like there's a lot of women that are gonna relate to what I'm talking about. Oftentimes as women, we carry so much stress. We carry what we feel like is like the weight of our household sometimes. We're managing this, we're thinking about that. We carry that list that men will never understand. And oftentimes, when we are in kind of that chaos of our mind and we're like, I have to do this, I have to accomplish this, I have to manage this, I need to think about this, we come across as aggressive or we come across as like not welcoming or warm or whatever. And so something that I've really been working on with my husband is learning how to approach him and our marriage in a more loving way where I'm kind of releasing that stress when I come to the table, you know? And so I've really been practicing that lately. And maybe that's going to come across as like, oh, she like is a bitch to her husband, that's not what I mean. I just mean that like I'm proud in those moments where I feel like I can not get overwhelmed by the everyday minutia and just really focus on showing up as a loving person because when I do that, I'm a loving person more to myself. I'm a better daughter. I'm a better sister. I'm a better friend. When I can really learn how to show up and be kind to myself and kind to others is when I feel the most proud. So even all the professional accomplishments, those are all great, but that honestly is like what makes me feel the best about myself.
That was my favorite answer ever. Not only did you now inspire me, I'm like, oh my God, that's a good one. I should be
Yeah.
nicer to my husband too.
Girl, it's hard. Sometimes you
Hard.
just find yourself in that moment where you're just like,
Well,
you
it's
know?
like you said, we have a million things going through our brain at the
Yeah.
same time that like I don't have time to be nice right now.
Yeah. And men, they don't understand the um the clock that women have in their
Mhm.
brains too. Like when we were talking about like having a baby and things like that, like men don't get the pressure that women feel like I need to have my career figured out at least to a certain point that I can feel comfortable stepping away to have a child or to, you know, give up my body or to give up my mental health for a period of time. Like it's a huge sacrifice that women have to give. And so I think like that clock, it's like always ticking in your head and that kind of creates even more stress for you because you're like, I got to do this, I got to get this done. And you're like trying to just keep up with getting to where you need to be in order to like feel like okay, like I can relax. Yeah.
And it's constant because it's like, I don't know that we ever get to a place where you are fully at peace with any part of your
Mhm,
professional life, your family life, your marriage, your friendships, you always want to be doing more and you always want to be the best that you can be. And then how you brought up, like going into that phase of motherhood, I feel like that's not something that many people talk about,
mhm,
especially an entrepreneur. There's so much already going through my mind and time in the day to try and accomplish that adding that is a stressful piece, even though it's exciting. And
mm,
it doesn't discount the fact that you can still want that while being stressed and anxious about it.
yeah. I often say that if my marriage is thriving, something is not thriving in my work. If my work is
Mm.
thriving, something is not thriving in my marriage.
Mm.
And I think that's a struggle that all women feel. If work is going really well for you, your family life is struggling. You know, if your family life is going really well, then you're really struggling with certain aspects in your marriage or your family or whatever. So it's like you're constantly trying to manage and keep like status quo, even kill, whatever it might be. And that constant pressure on women, I think, is what makes women feel maddening crazy because we feel like we have to be all of these things for everybody. You know, sometimes I'll get phone calls from my sisters. They're like, we haven't talked to you in a week. And I'm like, I'm doing everything right now. Like, you don't understand, you know? And I'm like, I don't mean to be that way, you know, but it's like that energy comes across in so many women because we're just frustrated, like we're exhausted, we're, you know, and sometimes it's like we're not really doing anything, but it's just the mental game that women have to face that so many men just will never understand. And I know that men have their own struggles and what they deal with as being males, but it's just such a difficult thing for women to want your career, want the family life, want to be a mother, want to be a good wife, want to be a business professional, like want to have girlfriends, want to be a good daughter to your parents, want to, you know, it's like there's so many things and roles that we have to play that are sometimes just feel absolutely impossible. So yeah, it's something that I certainly struggle with, and it's something that I'm having to work on. But like talking to other women like you who are similar to me and that struggle with the same things, it's reassuring to know that you're not alone and that you have a community of women who are there to support you and like be like, girl, I get it. You know, like you're not crazy. You're not an evil wife. You are just trying to get through the day.
Mhm. And that's honestly been the biggest blessing out of doing this podcast
Yeah.
because there's so many things that I had always felt were just a me issue, that I
Mm,
was alone with it. And I think as women, and especially it seems like we have a very similar personality in this way, that when you do vocalize the mental war zone that's happening in your mind all the time, it allows you to understand what's going through your mind. And also it puts things in perspective again. And
yeah.
then when you get that validation from another person that's like, I'm thinking the exact same thing, then you can be a little easier on yourself.
Yeah. When I talk to other women and they tell me like, no, like I nag my husband. Like I struggle with that too. Like I struggle with being a loving partner. Like I struggle with being a good daughter, you know, or like, you know, supporting my parents, you know, all the things. I'm like, "Oh, okay, so I'm not alone in this." Like I don't think that I'm like a terrible person, you know, like I start to realize like, no, this is something that a lot of people are struggling with, and people are just afraid, I think, to talk about it because it is a little taboo to say, maybe I wasn't the nicest to my partner.
Mhm.
You know, it makes you feel like, could they find someone better? Or like, you know, you're afraid to say that out loud because you're afraid of the stigma that comes with it. But I feel like if more people were just honest about that, it's helpful for so many couples or, you know, whoever who just want to feel like, I want to have it all, but I know that I can't do it all. Yeah.
That like hit my soul.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
so right. And
Yeah.
I think this false notion that we kind of have been fed that like you can have a balance or that women can be multidimensional while still being great at everything that their roles require.
I
That
don't believe in that.
I don't think it's
I don't
possible.
I don't think you can be a great mom and a great businesswoman. At some point, something is going to have to give. Whether that's like, I can't be at a certain thing for my child because I have this going on with business or I'm on a work trip, or I have to sacrifice going to see my parents because I have to do something, you know, for work or whatever it might be. Like, I just feel like it's that, and that's why I struggle really bad about having a child because I want to be a mom that is present. I want to be able to say that I can go to these things and do these things, but I'm not at a place yet where I feel like I could be kind to myself if I had to make decisions that weren't exactly the way I envisioned myself as a parent, you know? So I'm working on that. I will get there. And luckily, I have a really supportive husband who I know that if I need to go and do something for my work, he would be there to help support in other ways.
Yeah.
And I think that's really awesome that men are taking on more roles of being like super dads and letting women,
Totally.
you know, kind of take the lead professionally sometimes. I think that's awesome and something that should be celebrated more.
I agree. And I also think the way that you're talking about entering that season of motherhood too, and thinking about it as much as you have, because I've been in the exact same boat where when you're really thinking about it and you want to show up in a certain way, I don't think it's very commonly talked about how scary it
Mm,
is to give up a part of your identity
mm,
for an unknown chapter. And knowing that you can still want it while being scared and not ready is not only it's okay, but I think it's more normal than we think it is. But I've even been hard on myself with the fact that it's like you can want it, but if I'm not ready, but you still want it, then it's like, at what point do you take that leap of faith? Like,
mhm.
there's never a right time for
Yeah.
anything.
People
And
often say to us, like to me and my husband, they'll say, you're never going to be ready. And I'm like, yeah, but I at least want to feel a little bit more confident about it. Like I realize that there will never be a perfect time, but I do think a, a there is a beauty in delaying, that gratification until you feel completely at peace with the uncertainty, because I'm not there yet. Like I don't feel at peace with the idea of I'm maybe I'm not 100% about this, but I'm still going to go through it anyways. Kind of how I felt about my leaving my job. At a certain point, I got to a place in my life where I was like, I don't care what happens, I'm doing this,
Mhm.
And that's kind of how I want to approach having a child is I don't care what's going to happen, you know, I know that I can do this and I feel confident in myself. I'm just not there yet, and that's okay. And going into being 32, like my mom had one of my sisters at 40. So
Mm.
I just don't think that there's no pressure to figure it out. I feel pressure, but I don't at the same time.
Well, and I think so much of that pressure is a societal pressure
Yes.
too, that when you decide to listen to your own timeline and your own knowing, I applaud you for that because it is hard to do in a society and in a culture that really says, like, oh, you're in your 30s, like, time to get going, like your biological clock. Like, it's a conversation that we're surrounded by. And
Right.
I do think that if you let that pressure affect you, it can take a toll on you.
Yeah.
And that's one more thing
And
to
two,
take a toll on.
right, and two, like, I don't wanna bring a child into my circumstance right now, I feel like that would be really unfair. I don't wanna bring a child into a situation where I'm traveling a lot, I'm having to sacrifice a lot of my time to my job, and I just don't want to bring a child into a environment where I'm not able to good about it and okay with it. I know I'll get to that point where I'll be like, okay, like I don't have to go to that event. It's not going to affect me and it'll be okay. But
Mhm.
right now I'm like, no, I need to go to that event because it helps build my career right now. And, that's just where I'm at in life. And I just have to accept that. And I'm also okay with the idea if maybe I might not have any children. And what could my life look like with that? Could I be happy with just me and my husband and traveling and enjoying, our life as it is? That's a possibility too. So I'm kind of exploring all options and being open to the idea that maybe kids will happen for me, maybe they won't. And what would my life look like if I took either path because neither is the right one? Like,
Mhm.
whatever path you take is always going to be the right path.
Exactly. The right path for you individually.
Exactly. Yeah, for me.
Mhm. Exactly. And I think that there's a lot more women that feel that way
Mhm.
than you think. And I'm sure there's so many listeners right now that are like snaps, clapping, like, thank you for validating me. Because there's a lot of women that are in that same boat. And I
Yeah.
think having people that they admire and look up to and that have a platform and you're building such a strong foundation of empowerment in such a deeper way than fashion, than
Oh,
clothes. And I think
100%.
hearing your voice and hearing your experiences and your point of view is something that is really going to resonate with people.
Thank you. This was amazing. Like, I feel like I've known you my whole life.
I know. I'm like,
Is that
so do
weird?
we go hang out now? Like, do we
I know.
go?
I know, I'm like, "Can we, like, see each other in real life?" Because I feel like I literally have known you forever,
I
which is
know.
awesome, you know? I love connecting to other women who share very similar ways of thinking as me, and what's been great is, like, my community is a lot like that when I meet them in per I do these, like, little meet and greets when I go to different cities, just like
Mm,
little happy hours just to, like, meet my community in real life. Even if it's, like, 5 girls that show up, I'm always like, "Oh my god, thank you for being here." Like, "Thank you for spending 30 seconds of your day to watch
yeah.
one of my videos," you know? I'm just always so grateful for my community, but when I meet them, they're so cute because they're, like, so much like me. They're not, but they are, you know? And I'm like, if you lived where I lived, like, we would hang out all the time. Like, if you met the other girls from other cities, like, you guys would be friends. And I just love that friendship of community that my platform has built, because connecting women together is so powerful and
Mhm.
so helpful. And I'm just so grateful for, what you're doing today, bringing awareness to the topics that we talked about today, and building your own business. I think it's absolutely amazing. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. We got to stick together because we know there's a lot of highs and lows. We got to ride them.
Yes, girl. No, I feel this.
Oh, it's wild. But if people want to find you that somehow have not yet discovered you, where can they find you on TikTok and Instagram?
Yeah, so you can follow me on TikTok or Instagram at Styling with Kenzie. I'm also on YouTube, but I don't post as often, but I do have some vlogs on there.
Love.
And then if you want to, take my course, my masterclass on how to find your style and, master the art of styling, that is at Style.
And I'll link everything in the show notes so it makes it super easy for everybody. Kenzie, I could talk to you all day. So if you ever come to Texas or if I'm ever in Atlanta, we need
Yeah,
to make it happen.
no, 100%. And you know what? I'll give your listeners a 10% discount on my masterclass. We can figure out what the code is, but you can put it in the in
In the
the
show
um
notes.
in
That's
the show
so
notes.
nice
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah,
You
of course.
got it. That's
100%.
amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. That was awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, I'll stop recording.